Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
Boyfriend snapped on me last night. I lost my aquarium and he threatened to kill my cats. I'm not sure what was wrong with him. An argument turned into him repeatedly telling me to kill myself, spraying me in the face with a water gun meant for the cats, telling me he was going to kill my cats, telling me I am a crazy stupid piece of sh*t, an idiot, he hopes I die, grabbing me by the neck of my sweatshirt and not letting go until I deliberately stopped resisting and leant back into him, causing him to fall into my little betta fish aquarium. He stated I was for allowing it to happen, and that it was really caused by my ramming his head into it. He then attempted to damage some camera equipment I had and beat himself in the head with it. He pretended to be knocked out and claimed he had it all on video so he could put me in prison. My betta tank is now damaged and slowly leaking. Oh, and he also the betta tank cover in two over his knee, on purpose. I continued asking him why he was behaving so strangely, and he told me it was because I am a dumb. I honestly have no idea what I did. I didn't cheat on him, I didn't damage anything of his, and I didn't injure any of his family members. I became a touch tipsy, but so did he, and we had a wonderful night before that. And then he simply wouldn't quit staring me down, literally, leaning down over me, 1 inch from my face, and said he's going to destroy my life by exposing that I have been a cam model. Edit #1. If it's any consolation, I lost my white-collar desk job during the COVID era. I used to work in finance and had a bachelor's degree and MBA, which he kept saying I could only have gotten by performing a lewd act on a man in power. But since then, I've been looking for money online to pay my expenses. I say was since he prevents me from camming and now pays my expenses in exchange. I told him I wasn't embarrassed of camming, but he stated he simply wanted me to himself. Edit #2. I'm a 38-year-old female, and he's a 38-year-old guy. He's now telling me that I'm only valuable as a cam model, expletive, and then he tells me that I'm losing my looks. I've known him for 5 months. I still look the same as when I first met him. Edit #3. I am presently living with him. He informed me that he can't live without me, that he wants to have a child with me, and that he wants to marry me. I'm not the desperate/lonely type, but he had previously persuaded me that he was my soulmate. However, he now despises me and wishes for me to commit suicide. Said that about 118 times this morning until he passed out. Edit #4. I still have his spit on the coffee table in front of me, from when he attempted to spit on me, which is also covered with a weird powder he flung at me, as well as water pouring out of my betta tank. Edit #5 and update. I woke up about an hour ago. I hadn't slept in about 36 hours, following the battle with him, then being terrified to sleep. Thank you for your comments and especially for the awards. I'm honestly surprised that my worst Thanksgiving ever received this much attention. So, I wanted to cook a beautiful Thanksgiving meal for myself, and when he woke up this afternoon and appeared a bit more stable, just periodically calling me a POS, not kidding, and I'm not sure why that is his goad insult. Well, that plus a few other derogatory names for women. I headed to the grocery store, at this time, certain that he wasn't going to murder my pets. I informed him that I had all of my goods in the living room, ready to put into my vehicle. I left after he hurled a couple more slurs at me. When I returned approximately 45 minutes later, all of my belongings were vanished. He was vacuuming and had candles lighted. When I questioned where my belongings were, he said, "Back where it always is, where it belongs, in my closet." I was perplexed and reminded him of some of the heinous things he had said to me previously. So here is where I am completely perplexed. "What are you talking about?" he said, looking at me as if I were insane. I never said anything like that, and he stated it as though he really believed it. So, could he have been off his medicines, incredibly intoxicated, or both? He genuinely returned every single item of mine to its original location, and without urinating in it, as he had threatened to do 12 hours before. Edit #6. I have pictures of the serious, large and multicolored bruises all over my body from a couple weeks ago, except for my ribs, which didn't bruise on the outside but are finally healing after a couple weeks. It's nice to finally be able to breathe / laugh / cough / check my blind spots in my car without excruciating pain. I kind of informed my mother, and she freaked out and wanted to call the cops. I urged her not to since there's a potential he'd accuse me of hurting him. When he slammed me to the ground, he bruised his wrist. So I may end myself in prison as well. He continues threatening / lying about contacting the cops, which he knows I am frightened of. Again, because of the prospect of being detained for a she said / he said. He will continually pretend to be speaking with the police, telling them that I am abusing him and that they should come and arrest me. Not in a nice hilarious manner, but in a serious wants to terrify me kind of way. When I tell him I'm going to contact them and show them images of the injuries you inflicted, he flips out and says, I never called them. Edit #7. For those of you who believe I'm being gaslighted, do you have any proof? I'm not being facetious. I realize this sounds silly. I believe I caused him to be this way towards me. I've had partners who have said ridiculous things to me in the past. At the same time, I've said and done some dumb things. I know that seems ridiculous, and it is as I write and read what I said. But maybe I could make anybody behave this way towards me. Edit #8. Okay, I apologize for all of the modifications. Perhaps I'm writing this in part to remind myself of his BS and to remain with him. But a couple times over the night / early morning, he took a photo from the wall and swung it at me, stating he hopes he could hit me over the head with it and kill me so he wouldn't have to look at my face again. I had forgotten about it. Again, it had been 24 hours without sleep for me at that point. Right now, I'm staring at that image on his wall. I was just triggered by the recollection. Edit #9. Someone claimed that this message was a hoax. I really, anyone who has any doubts may DM me, and I have photographs to show it all. This is a sucker, and now the dawn is rising, and he will awaken. I'm not sure which version of him I'll see. My preparations to leave him were derailed when my mother behaved like a crazy once again. But so many of the words on this page have struck a chord with me. I didn't want to feel like it any longer, so I told him I'd be back today for the first time since living with him. He yanked his router from the wall and instructed me to use my hotspot, and wondered how I could detest him so much. Then he Venmo'd me some money for payments due at the start of the following month. Later that day, he was still upset over my attempt to cam, and he showed me that he has acquired website domains with my name and my cam, false, identity, and that he intends to publish all of my naked camming to ensure that any future employer or anybody who Googles me would see it. Story 2. Has my girlfriend cheated? How can I find out whether my girlfriend slept with another man? My girlfriend and I have been together for over 6 years. We have a 2-year-old son together, and things have been going well for the most part. On weekdays, I run my own company, and on weekends, I work late nights at a nightclub. With me working into the wee hours of the morning, I always wake them up when I get in, and then I don't get to sleep because my daughter wants to play, but I'm exhausted at this time. I have another property closer to where I work evenings, so we decided that I would stay there on weekends so that I could sleep and they wouldn't be woken up. The next weekend, she claimed she was going out with her friends for a few drinks, so I dropped her off at her friend's place before heading to work, and her mother arrived to pick up our daughter for the night. I didn't get home till Sunday morning, but she felt somewhat different around me. This might just be in my imagination, but after we spoke, we went upstairs and I was lying on the bed and the bedding smelled like. Don't get me wrong, I could just be overthinking that part, but I did remark it to her. I then had to go for a work since I was on call, and when I returned, she had removed all of the linen from the bed. I didn't think much of it because she had cleaned the upstairs of the home. When I returned home the next week, she had a home STI test kit on the top shelf of the cabinet. I asked her why she'd gotten it, and she said the doctor told her she had to do that before she could have surgery on her cervix, which we'd spoken about a lot, since she's had a lot of issues since having a coil put in. I assisted her with the test, but when I inquired about her findings a few weeks later, she said that the blood sample was insufficient and that just the urine sample was examined, which came back negative. but I haven't heard her mention the operation afterwards, which makes me think it's a cover-up. She's also changed her phone password since this, which none of us have ever bothered with since we all knew each other's passwords because we've always been that tight. Is it just me or am I overthinking everything? I confronted her, and she flatly denied it, stating she'd never do anything like that, but my intuition tells me otherwise.